What's up, A to Z Sports Live? Excuse me, on this Wednesday, off to a hot start, just like the Titans trade deadline moves. But on this Wednesday, reacting to what happened and what didn't happen with the NFL trade deadline yesterday afternoon. We will not hear me talk about the Vols being ranked in the college football playoff #1 spot for the next hour, but I've been doing that since it came out last night at 7 o'clock. So we're going to have a good show today talking about what the Titans didn't do at the trade deadline. Sam has what he thinks is the biggest reason why the Titans didn't make a move at the trade deadline. In the NFL, they did. They made a lot of moves across the league. Yesterday, we'll go through some of it, ask you how you're feeling about the Titans' inactivity on the trade deadline, and try to find out what can the Titans accomplish with this offense that's ranked 31st in the NFL out of 32 and it's dead last in passing offense. Then we've got some shade. So I'm sure everybody will have a lot of shade later on in the show, as we do every Wednesday. But Sam Phelan in for Zach Bingham today. And Sam, how's it going? I guess you were proven right on Monday, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to the Titans and the trade deadline.
Yeah, proven right, I guess, but lot to talk about either way. It's kind of a con to not have them trade. You'd like to see them probably make a move, but it is trade deadline day for today's show and reviewing what happened yesterday. So because of that, we need everybody to share the show this morning because we need as many Titans fans in this conversation as possible. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of emotions to go over. There's a lot of just feelings and predictions for the rest of the season that we've got to talk about. So share the show. If you're watching on Twitter, retweet it. If you're watching on Facebook, there's a share button right there. Use the YouTube link, whatever it takes. Get as many Titans fans in here joining our conversation because everything trade deadline we've got to unpack on the Tennessee Titans as we move forward with a 5-2 record, but no moves at the deadline to maybe make fans feel better about the state of the union regarding the Titans today.
That's right. So let's get it going officially. Welcome to the A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan in for Zach Bingham this morning. Make sure you follow us all over social media because we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Find links to the show on our Twitter timeline, on Instagram, and find us on TikTok as well. But we got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us. And they help out you guys with Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better coverage, rates, and service. Learn more about a health plan for you, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. If you've been injured in a car wreck, call Hughes and Coleman, 800-800-4600. So, Sam, the Titans did not make a trade yesterday at the deadline. So the deadline passes at 3 p.m. Central Time. But a lot of things did happen when it comes to the NFL trade deadline around the league. So I put this together for us to recap it. It's that it was a wild trade deadline. There were a record 10 trades made yesterday on the deadline day, the most ever made on a trade deadline. You see Chase Claypool goes to Sam's Bears. That doesn't even include the Roquan Smith deal happened earlier in the week from the Bears. For whatever reason, the Jacksonville Jaguars traded for suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley. Jeff Wilson moving from San Fran. Bradley Chubb going from Denver to Miami. TJ Hawkinson traded within his division to the Vikings. And Chase Edmonds in that Bradley Chubb deal too. But Sam, what was your reaction around the league? 10 trades made. It takes two to tango. So 20 teams involved in trade deadline day activity.
Yeah, it was a crazy deadline. I just remember sitting there I felt like every 5 minutes I'm looking up and I've got a new Adam Schefter notification on my phone talking about another major deal that's being made. A lot of these teams are going for it. Another thing that I think I had a takeaway of, Austin, was I think a lot of teams are operating at the trade deadline as a way of kind of early free agency, in a sense, is something that I think stood out to me. I look at that Chase Claypool trade to the Bears. I look at Calvin Ridley going to Jacksonville. Those are two teams that aren't trying to contend this year, aren't trying to get better this year. And you might kind of look at it at face value and say, why the heck did the Bears need Chase Claypool right now? Their general manager came out and said, well, I looked at the free agent pool and there's not a ton of good ones out there. So I wanted to make sure we got one now and then we can pay him. So I do think that played a factor in a very, very busy deadline, is that teams that were maybe thinking they were going to go spend money, go ahead and make a splash in free agency, kind of took the opportunity at the deadline to do it early. Jacksonville, I mean, hats off to Jacksonville. You said for whatever reason they traded for Calvin Ridley. I really like it for him. You give Trevor Lawrence a guy next year that if he can come back and play like his normal self, you're getting him a number one wide receiver to pair with Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne and some of the weapons over there in Jacksonville. And you're doing it for a cheap price for what he would cost if he was on the field playing every week. So it was an interesting deadline. It was craziness. And I think a lot of teams are taking a smart approach by trying to plan for the future without relying too heavily on the free agent market.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. It's almost like you get the first opportunity to negotiate with the player you traded for. So, look, there's a lot of guys that were traded yesterday. Then there were guys who were not traded yesterday. Brandon Cooks did not get traded from the Houston Texans, and he did not seem happy about it, posting on Twitter about how he felt. And then you saw no Jerry Jeudy. A lot of the guys we talked about yesterday, Sam, we had this conversation, is which of these four wide receivers that were being connected to the Titans was the most realistic trade option? Well, only one of them got traded, and it's the guy on the left. Chase Claypool goes to the Chicago Bears from Pittsburgh. Elijah Moore stays with the Jets. Brandon Cooks stays with the Texans, and Jerry Jeudy stays with the Denver Broncos. So a lot of guys not traded there, and the Titans didn't do anything at the trade deadline. So let's ask this question, because I saw a lot of emotion on social media yesterday from Titans fans. So we'll go ahead and ask it now. How upset are you that the Titans did not make a move at the deadline? 1 through 10. So we like to do 1 through 10. If you're not upset at all and you think the Titans did exactly what they should have done, then 1 is your answer. If you flipped your couch and coffee table, then you're at a 10. So 1 through 10, Mark Jones, Cincinnati Titan, you cannot answer 0. So you have to go 1 through 10. 1 is the low. How upset are you that the Titans did not make a trade at the deadline? Sam's going to go through your comments about that here in a second, but I'm going to tell you guys about Hughes and Coleman, the official injury lawyers of the Tennessee Titans. And if you have been injured in a car wreck, there is one place to call to get the money you deserve, and that is Hughes and Coleman Injury Lawyers. Their phone number is 800-800-4600. They've recovered over $1 billion for their clients over the last 30 years in the state of Tennessee and in Kentucky, and they will do the same for you. I've always say it. They've got the muscle. They've got the resources. They got the connections as the official injury lawyers of the Titans to go get you every dollar you deserve from that car accident. So check them out. Call them when you need them for a free case consultation if you've been injured in a car wreck at Hughes and Coleman, 800-800-4600, principal office, Nashville, Tennessee.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks, and with promo code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app, you can get a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000. So if you've been thinking about getting into the sports betting space, you better be doing it on BetMGM, and you better be using that promo code. I think that's the biggest thing with sports betting is I don't want to have any risk or take any risk. I don't want to lose some money. Well, this is a risk-free way to finally take the step and get involved in sports betting with BetMGM. Promo code ATOZ Sports. Okay, let's go to the comments.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
1 through 10. How upset are you that the Titans didn't make a move at the trade deadline? I will not be reading any comments that said 0 because you are not in the 1 through 10 range. So that does not count. Steven is at a 9. Ethan's at a 10. Darren missed the number memo here. He's just furious. He was too mad to even pick a number.
What number does furious match with?
I mean, that's a 9, right?
What's a 10? What word fits the 10?
Fuming?
Fuming? I think furious
Fuming
is
might be less than furious, actually.
yeah. Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, I was keep on going. I was going to
All
say like
right.
something like
Oh, well, here you go.
meltdown.
Andre says Furious 10. So maybe
Okay.
Furious is
Yeah,
a 10. Cameron's a
maybe.
5. Darren's a 10. Let's see. Davidson is an 8. DeMario's a 1. He thinks that they did what they should have. Eric said 5, indifferent. Tighten Up is 6. Titans Kyle's a 3. Ethan's a 9. James is a 9.5. Almost there. And then here's Darren coming back with a 20. So that's what Darren's Furious is a 20. Yeah. We got a 10. We got a 10 from Amber. 1 from Reginald. Scott's at 7. Chandler's at 3. Wide variance here, guys. We have the chat is all over the place. 6. Let's see, 1 from Johnny, another 6 from Jacoby. Yeah, a lot of different answers. So Austin, I ask you, how upset are you that the Titans did not make a trade at the NFL trade deadline 1 through 10?
Look, I'm going to give my answer here in a second, but obviously, as a person who's covered the team for now, I think this is my 10th year covering the Titans professionally. So it's my upset level is not like a fan's upset level, like where Ed says apathetic and apoplectic and furious equals that. Maybe that's interesting, but so I'm not on the same rage as you guys are, but I am frustrated by this because just like you, we all watch the Titans every week, and they get a pass for the Texans game because Malik Willis was the starting quarterback for that and for the injured and sick Ryan Tannehill, and so they ran the ball 40 times to the running back and won the game. They got out of there with the win like they're supposed to. But Sam, I think I'm at a 6 on this because there were moves to be made at positions of need. Most importantly, the wide receiver, I think, because it's really hard to trade for an offensive lineman that's capable in season. There were more available wide receivers on the trade market than there were offensive linemen on the trade market, because I would say O-line's a bigger issue than wide receiver at this point. But Sam, I read this stat yesterday. Robert Woods is the leading pass catcher for the Titans with 22 catches. The second player with the most catches on the team is running back Derrick Henry. The third most catches on the team is Derrick Henry's backup, Dontrell Hilliard, with 13. Then Treylon Burks, who has not played since October 1st against the Colts, or October 2nd against the Colts, it's been a month, has 10. Then you got NWI, he's played in every single game, and he's got 8. Kyle Phillips has missed a lot of games, and he's got 8 or 9.
He had 6 in the first game.
Yes. And so, like, there's nobody that can go out there and catch the ball. Like, Derrick Henry, for his entire career up until this point, has never really been considered a consistent pass-catching option. This year, he's second on the team in catches. Through how many games? Through 7 games? So, like, there were opportunities out there to go get one of these 4 guys that would automatically become your second best option, and outside of Elijah Moore, Claypool, Brandon Cooks, and Jerry Jeudy could be considered even better than Robert Woods. And they passed on it. I don't know the negotiation. I don't know the nuances. I don't know the asking prices of the teams. I don't know if Elijah Moore just flat out wasn't an option. I don't know, whatever. But the fact that they got nobody, and that I didn't hear a report saying, well, you know, the Titans are trying. Like, I heard the Packers and the Cowboys, man, they were trying. It just didn't happen. You know, they tried. The Packers were making calls. They just couldn't get it done before the deadline. And the same thing with the Cowboys trying to go after a wide receiver too. But they just couldn't get it done before the deadline. Nothing about the Titans. All I saw from the Titans was no deal. No move made. Titans sit pat. So I'm at a 6 out of a 10.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm at the same level of frustration with you. Part of that comes back to what we talked about earlier in the week. I feel like we've been talking Titans trade for a while, and I've kind of kept the same stance. If I didn't expect a trade to get done, when we talked DJ Moore back in the day, I said, I don't think they will. I don't know if it's realistic. I don't think it will happen. And then here we are with no trade getting done. And I think it comes down to a couple different factors, which we'll get into. But I'm at like a 2. I am, because like I look at you, go ahead and put up those wide receivers again.
Okay.
But I look at this group of guys, and Brandon Cooks, while he was a paper roster fit for me, the contract was never going to play here. He's making way too much money next year. They're up against the salary cap. Jerry Jeudy, I believe I saw the reported asking price was a 2nd and a 5th for a guy that really hasn't even hit his stride in the NFL yet. Now he's a definite upgrade. Chase Claypool, same deal. The Bears and the Packers were in a bidding war over Chase Claypool, which forced the Bears to give up their 2nd round pick, which will basically be a back-end 1st round pick for Chase Claypool. So the only pick the Titans could have offered the Steelers that was better than the pick they got from the Bears would have been the Titans' 1st round pick. You're not doing that for Chase Claypool.
No,
So I look at the way that the way the market played out in terms of asking prices, all these things. And then, like you said, at other positions, I'm just not sure where the upgrade is, the significant upgrade that would warrant giving up draft capital. To me, offensive linemen don't get traded for. Yes, they need a left tackle. They need help on the offensive line. Starting caliber tackles are just not available in the trade market. I said that a month ago when we had this conversation about Andre Dillard from Philadelphia. So I'm at a 2 because like I get why it's frustrating from a fan's perspective, but I just look at the way the market played out, and I'm not sure that there was as much to do this trade deadline as many Titans fans want to believe. And then it comes down to the message that the Titans are sending to their fans and the message that they are putting out there, which I think really is the reason why they didn't make a trade. But I'm not upset. I'm more just I'm apathetic. I know you came up with that word earlier, but I didn't expect it to get done. So I have a hard time finding myself getting red in the face here on a Wednesday because they didn't make a trade at 5-2.
Yeah. So a lot of things you said there, very logical. And I agree with the fact that it would have been stupid for the Titans to give up a 1st round pick for Chase Claypool, because no, that's correct. So I think once I saw the price for Chase Claypool, which I was surprised by, Zach actually kind of nailed it yesterday in the conversation, and he's not here this morning to rub my face in it, which is nice for me for a chance. But I'm sure he'll bring it up tomorrow when he's back on the show. But so I feel like that was fine to pass on Chase Claypool. I just think there's something you got to get done. We brought up, Kendrick Bourne a few weeks ago, Sam, as a guy who would be an upgrade over everybody but Robert Woods in the Titans pass catching room. So, there were guys out there that could have been moved and acquired by the Titans. Again, you mentioned the Packers and the Bears in the bidding war for Claypool. There was no reporting about what the Titans attempted to do. So yeah. As far as I know, they didn't attempt to do much.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. And I get that perspective of it as well, of being like, I don't know what I wanted them to do, but I wanted them to do something. Because I think the holes and the flaws of this roster are clear to everybody, even the Titans. I just think the Titans probably have a mentality that they can overcome a lot of those flaws. But I get why that's frustrating from a trade deadline perspective. I just think looking at the market, looking at the cap situation, and this is another point that I made earlier in the week as well. If the Titans were going to make a trade, I felt like they would have done it earlier in the year. We saw a game that the Tennessee Titans played against their biggest rival where they had 4 healthy wide receivers. One of them was Mason Kinsey off the practice squad, along with NWI, Cody Hollister, and Robert Woods. That was it for the wide receiver room. If there was a time to reach out to a team and say, hey, maybe we're going to go get Elijah Moore from the Jets. Maybe we're going to go reach out and trade for this guy that is available. That felt like the time to do it. And what did the Titans do? They showed us their cards of how they're preferring to handle some of these roster holes by just patching them up with a practice squad signing here, patching them up with a low-level trade for a Dennis Daly over here. The things that have gone wrong for the team are being solved in other ways, because I think both how they view their roster, how they view their cap situation, and how they view the future of the organization puts them in a spot where they're not ready to make a trade right now.
All right, so let's do this. what was the biggest reason why the Titans made the trade? You just talked about a lot of things that go on with the Titans, but what was the biggest reason why the Titans did not make a trade at the deadline? But first, I'm going to tell everybody about Wilson County Hyundai. Hey, if you're looking for a new ride, you should absolutely make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your car buying process because they're in Lebanon, which is not Nashville, which is not downtown. It's just outside of Nashville. Beautiful drive, I-40 east of town, where you will save money from not having to pay those downtown prices at Wilson County Hyundai. And Payne Bone, our guy out there, does a fantastic job in getting you in the right car, the right vehicle for your situation, for the right financial situation as well, too. So check out Payne Bone and his crew at Wilson County Hyundai, again, in Lebanon. Go see what they have to offer. The Hyundai brand is pretty insane. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I saw a Hyundai commercial when I was watching a game over the weekend. They've got the self-park thing. So, like, I'm a good parker, but most of the world sucks at parking. So if you go with a Hyundai, you don't have to worry about that. Hyundai's making the world a better place because they got the self-parking technology, whether it's parallel parking or in the tight spots, the grocery store, whatever it might be. Wilson County Hyundai making the world better. So WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Today's show is powered by the king of sportsbooks. I'm talking BetMGM, and I'm talking a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000. All you have to do to get that opportunity is use the promo code ATOZ Sports on BetMGM. So whatever pro football bet sticks out to you this weekend, place your bet on it with that promo code, and it is risk-free. Even if it doesn't go your way, you get the money back and get another chance to hit your bet. So that is the king of sports books. If you're going to get involved in sports betting, do it on BetMGM and do it with the promo code ATOZ Sports.
All right, Sam. So in your opinion, what was the biggest reason why the Titans didn't make a move?
Yeah, I think the consensus would be the Titans think they're better than a lot of people, basically everybody else. They think they're better than basically everybody else would tell them. The football world, the fans, the media is telling them, you have an offensive line problem. You have a wide receiver problem. You occasionally have issues in your secondary, and your pass rush has been hit or miss for the most part. A pass rush isn't their biggest issue, but there are clear holes. There are clear flaws with this roster that I think anybody looking at it says, that's not a team that can sustain this into playoff football. I think the Titans' response to that is 5 in a row. I think the Titans' response to that is number 1 seed last year. Their response to that is 3 straight division titles. This is our brand of football. They won a game. They won an NFL game. I know they're the Houston Texans, still an NFL team. They won an NFL game. Everybody in the building knew they were giving the ball to 22 and running them up the middle on 75% of their snaps. They still couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
And I think if you're Mike Vrabel and John Robinson, both you look at the draft capital that you're going to need a year from now for this next offseason, and you look at where you are right now, I think they believe they can contend in the AFC with their current roster, right or wrong, like it or love it. That is where I believe the Titans are from a approach standpoint. And I think we're going to find out on Sunday just how accurate that claim might be. But for me, that's the reason. They looked at it and said, I don't know where we get a ton better. I think that we are competitive now. We've won 5 in a row, that we're going to be contenders regardless. Why risk future assets when this is what we are?
All right. So Darren says that's ego. So do you kind of, settle it down to ego?
I think
is it ego?
A little bit. I think ego is an interesting word to use because it is to an extent, but ego that is backed up is also not ego, right? It's just confidence. And you can say what you want about the Titans this year. The Titans have proven that they've been able to win in the past. And so far this year, they've won with this. Yeah. I was sitting here after week 2 criticizing them, saying they weren't good enough, and they shut me up real quick, rattling off 5 in a row. So I do think that there is a level of, it might be a little bit of ego, but I think there's a lot of confidence in that building from 3 straight division titles and the most wins in the NFL since 2019 or whatever the number is. And what they've built here on their brand of football. And there is some ego there, 100%. But is it justified? Maybe.
Yeah, and Tank Sinatra says Mike Vrabel's the definition of that, and he loves it. Eric Charles says not so much ego as it is fact. And I did see somebody else, I think it was John, said, no, ego is, oh yeah, John. No, ego, it's the perfect word to use, is that Mike Vrabel has an ego that he can accomplish whatever he needs to accomplish with whatever he is given by the GM.
Well, I think it's a balance. It is a balance of that ego with a balance of the situation that the Titans are in long term.
Okay, pause. So we're trying to figure out what the biggest reason why the Titans did not make a move.
Yeah.
Is it more because they believe they can reach their goals this year with what they have? Or is it more of John Robinson understands this year's limit and wants to be able to save to create a higher limit in the future and doesn't want to give up that capital for what this year is? Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, I think.
Which is it more of?
Of those two, I would say the second one.
Okay.
On John Robinson trying to limit the damage now to increase their ceiling in the future, but I don't think it's because he understands their limit this year. I think he looks at the market and says, where does my team get substantially better, knowing the brand of football that they play, knowing that Rome wasn't built in a day and you can't fix your offensive line, your wide receiver room, and your secondary at one trade deadline. And he says, where can I get better? If I can't have a substantial increase to my roster, I know what we're doing right now can at least get us into the playoffs, can at least stay competitive in games. I think it is that balance, but I do feel like there is a level of knowing you're going to need your draft picks, knowing you're going to need some money this offseason, and being weary of that when you're making a trade at this point.
I agree. I think that's the biggest reason. It's because they understand the ceiling is lower this season overall, and so they don't want to jeopardize the future. Now, whether you agree with that philosophy or not, I think that's the reason.
Yeah, and they would never say that, obviously.
No.
So, like, it's a hard spot to be in terms of an optics perspective, as a front office, as a head coach, as an organization. Your fans have the pitchforks out. They're asking, well, why didn't you make a trade? And you're kind of like, because we're confident. That's kind of what you have to say, or it just didn't work out. There's always underlying reasons there, and they can't always say those. But I do think that, yeah, there is a balance of understanding. You don't have A.J. Brown. You don't have these playmakers that the Titans have had in the past where, yes, they've played this ugly run the football brand of game for however long, but then you've always had the deep threat. You've always had the big time playmaker to kind of bail you out and help be a catalyst for your offense. You don't have that. They've seen the play. They know that there's a cap to this in a lot of ways. And so it's, how can we get to the playoffs, stay competitive, while we also don't jeopardize what we know is coming? Because there's a lot of things that are impending. Paying Jeffrey Simmons is one of them. The Taylor Lewan contract situation, injury situation is one of them. The disappointing play of Caleb Farley is eventually going to become a factor, especially with Christian Fulton becoming a free agent here soon and needing to pay him. There's a lot of things that the Titans have on their plate in the not too distant future that a good GM, which I do think John Robinson is a good GM. Yeah. I know people have their criticisms of him, but you cannot argue with the results. A good GM is thinking about those things now. And a short-sighted GM would have gone out and traded for Brandon Cooks. A short-sighted GM might have gone and made a play for Chase Claypool by offering a second and a fifth or whatever it was. That same GM would have run into a lot of
problems. Calling out your Chicago Bears GM?
Well, the Bears are in a way different situation than the Titans are in right now.
Let's just make a look at this. Here's the graphic I put together, right? this isn't all the moves that were made yesterday, but a lot of them, right? Claypool to the Bears, bad team. Ridley is not even eligible this year, but he goes to the Jags, who are a bad team. Jeff Wilson, did he go to Miami? Where did Jeff Wilson end up going?
Jeff Wilson goes to Miami, yeah.
Yeah. And then so Miami made a bunch of moves. Bradley Chubb and Jeff Wilson. Chase Edmonds is out, but the other two are in to Miami. Miami is going for it. Like they understand with what they're doing and the cheapness of Tua, they've got to be more aggressive in the short term. And I think the Vikings, who acquired TJ Hawkinson from the Lions, are in the same situation there where they have to go for it now because Justin Jefferson is going to get like $30 million a year. And then you have to figure out what Dalvin Cook has been paid, right?
I believe that
happened this past year. He had an extension.
Yeah. So he'll have some time there in Minnesota, but
again, like Kirk Cousins is, still expensive too, but they're having to go for it because they've sucked for a long time too. So most of the teams that made trades are in a bad situation or in a desperate situation. And the Titans, whether you agree with it or not, they don't view themselves as desperate.
Well, yeah, and you have to look at the brand of football the Titans play too, right? So you go out and you trade for, even if it is a Chase Claypool or Elijah Moore, and you add him to your offense. I think that some Titans fans would have been excited about and would have endorsed. And yes, it makes your wide receiver room better from a talent perspective and an objective talent perspective. Does it make your passing offense better? Do you throw the ball a lot more? Like, what do you do differently with Elijah Moore than you currently do with Robert Woods? And I mean, you brought in Robert Woods and Austin Hooper and all these guys to come be playmakers, and you found out really quickly, yeah, we don't have the offense to give these guys a lot of production. So I think what the Titans are right now, maybe it does win playoff games. I don't know. We all might look like chumps here in January if they go on some run with Derrick Henry just running over playoff defenses. I don't know. But whatever it is that they are, it's not changing regardless of what trade you make. And like I said, I think offensive line was the one thing that would have made sense to me. But at the same time, an offensive lineman, as we've mentioned, doesn't get traded in the middle of a season, especially not the good ones.
And Michael Wagner adds the Bills traded. They got Naheem Hines running back from the Colts, which is a really impressive move for the Bills, but they are going for it. And you mentioned offensive line. Andre Dillard was the popular trade offensive lineman prospect that Titans could have gone after. If you're the Eagles and you're 7-0, you are keeping everybody you can because you don't want an injury to your left tackle to ruin that offense and ruin the momentum you got. So you hang on to Andre Dillard to see if you can be as deep as you possibly can to go win. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, you don't make offensive linemen, starters aren't available for trade. Depth pieces, the good ones are probably on good teams, and those good teams aren't really wanting to trade their depth because they're making a run. So it wasn't something that was
if the Eagles were 4-3, maybe you can go get Andre Dillard from the Eagles because he's got an expiring contract and you just take a shot at it. Maybe. But they're 7-0, so you can't do that.
So that's where we are. No trade for the Titans. I know fans are upset about it, but I'm having a hard time expecting anything different, Austin. Got to be honest.
All right, next question for everybody. Because this is the offense the Titans have. This is it. Like, they're going to make, maybe Burks comes back and can make an impact. Kyle Phillips has a few more games on IR as well. But how many games can the Titans win in the regular season with this offense? How many games can the Titans win in the regular season with this offense? But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. And whenever you get injured in life, that's where you need to turn. The Bone and Joint Institute. We had a Doc Talk segment about a month ago after Traylon Burks got his turf toe about what the likeliness of him coming back, the time period it would be. It's in that 4 to 6 week period, and Burks will have the ability to come back after 5 weeks off of IR. So that's something that we learned about the turf toe injury from the Bone and Joint Institute, because they have the experts that know how to deal with any type of injury you could possibly think of. whether it's sports, it's life, it happens to you, it happens to a family member, somebody else you might care about deeply. Tell them you got to go to the Bone and Joint Institute because they can get it done. They can get you back. boneandjointtn.org.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. I cannot endorse BetMGM enough. The king of sportsbooks for a reason. I use BetMGM pretty much every weekend when I'm watching college football, when I'm watching the NFL. And if you want to use BetMGM, if you want to get in the sports gambling space for the NFL, I have news for you. There is a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with promo code ATOZ Sports. That's why they're the king of sportsbooks, because they're giving out risk-free bets so that if your bet doesn't hit, you can just get the money back, get another chance to place a different bet to get that money back. That's the promo code ATOZ Sports on the BetMGM app.
How many games can the Titans win in the regular season with this offense? So that's the question. So Sam, I'll have you scroll back. Actually, I'll go ahead and do it because I've got a jump start on it. Scrolling through how many games people think the Titans can win, and then we'll kind of compare it on the schedule here. All right, I think I got to the top of it. So Mark, very confident, says 12. That would be something if the Titans go 12-5 for back-to-back years. Kevin says 11. James says 10 or 11. Chris asks, where's Zach? He'll be back tomorrow. He just had a project he had to work on this morning. Mark says, he already commented. Chef Bayardi says 9. Ed says 11. John says the rest of the division games, which are 3. 1 Texans, 2 Jacks. So that's not that many there, John. That's 8, 9 if you're counting at home. Andre says 9. King Vizik says, can you pull up the schedule? We'll do it in a second. Titans Kyle says 10 to 11. D Good says ceiling is at 10, quite frankly. Major Keys says 13. Teddy Wap says 10, 5 more. Steve says 12. AB in Texas says 12. Eric 12, 11. Jay Bryant 11. 10 from Shay. Billy with a 12. Andrew says 8. Ugh. All right, Dwayne with a 10. There's, I've seen the lowest is probably 8. The highest is definitely 12.
I mean,
maybe a 13 here.
They got 5 already. So, I mean, an 8 and 9 finish has them going 3 and 7 the rest of the way.
And that's what I forget if it was John maybe that said wins over the rest of the division games. So that would get you to 8-9. And in a weird way, I think that's good enough to win the division.
Unfortunately, I would agree, especially with the tiebreaker and That gets you in, which would be sad. It would
the Colts
be one of
going to win. The Colts are 3-4-1, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, the tiebreaker is not going to matter with the Colts unless the Titans were to end up tying with somebody, which, given their offense, is not impossible. But
so quick question: if the Titans are 8-9 and the Colts are 8-1,
the Colts get it.
Okay.
They have a better winning percentage. A tie doesn't count against your winning percentage.
No, it actually helps it because it removes a potential
loss. It removes a loss. So if the Titans are 9-8 and the Colts are 8-1, the Titans get the leg up. If it's 8-9 versus 8-1, they have one less loss. View it as like a half game. If you're looking at it from like a baseball perspective, you're a half game back.
Yeah. So the Colts would have to win 5 more games to beat the Titans.
Sam Ehlinger didn't look bad, but that feels like a stretch.
Yeah, because they lost to Washington. So, all right, here's the schedule, right? Because we've watched the Titans get to 5-2. The Chiefs down there at the bottom of the left column. Chiefs, tough game, right? Let's count winnable games, Sam. Broncos at home, absolutely winnable. At Green Bay, totally winnable. Versus the Bengals at home.
I think that's winnable.
Jamar Chase could possibly still be out. Did he go on IR officially, or is he just?
I do believe he's on IR. I would have to double check, but I think he's on IR.
All right, but that would be his 5th game or 5 weeks. So I think it's a winnable. The Eagles, let's just put that in the same bucket with the Chiefs. The Jags, winnable. Now we're at 4 winnables. The Chargers, they are underwhelming. Now it's in LA, which the Titans have always had issues going to San Diego, but this is at least LA. Maybe that helps a little bit.
Chad is
But
telling me Jamar Chase is not on IR, so he's not on IR, but
but
they
I
are
know this.
expecting him.
I know when Schefter and whoever put out the 4 to 6 week window, Titans Bengals was right in the middle at 5 weeks at that point. So
Yeah.
it's kind of an option. It's up in the air, right? So are we counting the Chargers as a winnable game on the road?
I would have to. I mean, the Chargers, you look at it's talent, talent, talent everywhere. They're banged up. Their defense has not been quite what they hoped or thought it would be. I mean, their pass rush would give the Titans fits, especially if Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa are both on the field for that and are healthy. But yeah, for whatever reason, Justin Herbert, all those weapons, it hasn't clicked. They haven't played a complete game, and they have a hard time finishing late.
Right.
I think you can hang with the Chargers. You dirty up a game with them for sure.
Texans winnable. Cowboys, that defense is really good. And we'll just put that aside. We'll be conservative here. So we'll put the Cowboys away as a not winnable game and the Jags. So we're talking about 7 winnable games the rest of the way, Sam. So I'll toss it back to you. How many games can the Titans win in the regular season with this offense?
11. I think they're going to be able to hang into a lot of games. I look at that schedule. I think like even a team like Dallas gave up 30 points to the Bears this past weekend, who have, as we know, been underwhelming on offense. And Denver, as bad as they are offensively, I think they're a good match for the Titans defensively. And that'll be like one of those 13 to 10 games they might as well throw on Thursday Night Football with how bad that one's going to be.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think they can hang in a lot of these games. Where I have a hard time seeing the Titans.
And Denver just, again, remember, traded away Bradley Chubb. So that defense
so the
might
teams
get a
that I have
less.
a hard time seeing the Titans compete with are the teams that have the high power air raid offenses. The teams that are going to score, and the Titans are going to have to go blow for blow with. I think that's Kansas City. I think that's Philadelphia. It's supposed to be the Chargers, but sometimes the Chargers aren't that. They're too inconsistent. There is a version of the Chargers that absolutely boat races the Titans and winds up in a 28-point game. The Titans can hang with anybody, but when you get in those games like Buffalo where they go down 1 or 2 scores, how do you answer? How do you fight back? I think 11-6 is my answer for the Titans. That puts them at 6-3 or 6-4 the rest of the way. I think that's very, very doable. I think it's a realistic expectation. They have some tough games on the schedule, but they should take care of the games in their division. And I think their brand of football matches up nicely with some of those other questionable games like a Denver, like a Chargers, even Dallas. I think the Titans are a good match for what Dallas does poorly, which I think will help them.
I think the max is 11. I think that's the max. Because they're going to slip up and do something stupid, like and that's what they do. But I think 11-6 is the max, but 10-7 is most likely. And that will put you in a situation as the Titans where they're sitting here with where my schedule graphic go. You're sitting there. If you drop against the Chiefs, now you're 5-3. You have to beat the Broncos. Have to. So that to get to 6-3. Let's say you split Packers, Bengals, so you're at 7-4. You lose to the Eagles, you're at 7-5. You got to beat the Jags to get to 8-5. Now the Chargers is a toss up because it's on the road, long West Coast travel. I think you don't want to go to 8-6 and put yourself where you've got to win 2 of the last 3 games, but luckily it's division opponents. So, I think the Titans schedule, when it came out and when I made this graphic back in May, you thought it was going to be a lot tougher than what it ended up being.
Yeah.
Now the Titans roster, I don't think is as good as what we thought it might end up being with some of the young pieces. And hopefully Burks can come back and put a little fire in it, but that's being optimistic. And so the litmus test to figure out where the Titans are defensively is this upcoming Sunday night to see what this defense can do. Can you hang around Kansas City? because that can also give you some confidence against some of those more high-powered teams later on.
Yeah, we're going to know soon. You can go ahead and throw the schedule up just one more time for me here, because I think the biggest stretch of the Titans season, the defining one, is right at the top right of your screen.
Yeah.
Denver, Green Bay, Cincinnati. I think that 3-week stretch, one of those games being Thursday night in Green Bay, it'll be a cold one too. So that plays to the Titans' benefit.
It's like mid-November, so it's not like it's the coldest time.
I mean, it is Green Bay, so it's like,
but it's also not Green Bay week 17 or 16 like the Titans had a few years ago when it was
that much is true. But that stretch right there, those 3 games, that's where I think the Titans separate themselves from a 9-8 division winner to an 11-6 or 11-6 division winner. I think that's where they do it, because you look at it realistically, Kansas City, Philadelphia, probably Dallas. These are like the elite of elite teams, even though I think the Titans could surprise Dallas or the Chargers or somebody. But you have to beat those borderline playoff teams that I think play a sloppier brand of football than which the Titans take advantage of. Somebody like Green Bay likes to run the ball, but they haven't been able to throw like for anything. Their defense has been underwhelming. Cincinnati, their offensive line kind of stinks. Their defense kind of stinks. They go through stretches where they just can't get anything going on offense because they think throwing Joe Burrow back in the shotgun and just letting him pass 3 straight times is a good recipe to find dynamic offense, which it is clearly not. And then Denver, as we said, a good defensive matchup, very, very, very good defense. And Denver, their offense can't do anything. But those are 3 teams that are like those borderline trying to figure it out, probably should be better than they are. And the Titans have to take advantage of that stretch. If you can go 2-3 in that stretch, now you're looking at the division games, puts you at double-digit wins that easily. And one surprise can get you to 11. But that's the stretch they have to take advantage of. So I think within the next 4 weeks, we will know where the Titans size up to the rest of the AFC, because you're going to see a couple of the teams that will likely be playoff contenders in the AFC.
A to Z Sports here live on this Wednesday. Again, we went through the biggest reason why the Titans did not make a move yesterday at the trade deadline. Also talking how many games can they win in the regular season with this offense. So now, Sam, let's turn to throwing shade. I'm sure people got lots of shade. If you want to throw shade on John Robinson for not making a trade, you can absolutely do that. Throw in shade. We do it every Wednesday to wrap up the show. But first, I'm going to tell you about Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on them. Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision. They've been serving Tennesseans for now over 75 years. So they can help you save money on your health plan. That happened with Zach. He saved 20% plus a month on his health plan when he switched over almost not quite a year ago. It's almost a whole year that Zach's been saving money with Farm Bureau Health Plans. And he said he had an eye appointment yesterday. So he got his contacts via his contact allowance with Farm Bureau Health Plans. And they've got over 200 plus locations in the state of Tennessee, which makes it easy on you to get signed up as well. You can either walk into one of those locations, you can call them, you go to their website, fbhp.com/ATOZ, and they can help you get started with your new health plan, fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks, and right now, with promo code ATOZ Sports, they are offering a risk-free bet on pro football up to $1,000. If you use that promo code on the app and you place a bet on pro football this weekend, your bet is risk-free. That means if it misses, you get that money back into your account, get another opportunity to place a bet and to win some cash. So it's, double the odds, basically. You get 2 shots at it. So use that promo code. That's ATOZ Sports on the king of sportsbooks, BetMGM.
Yep, visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualifications and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued a knowledgeable free bets on credit. Free bets expire 7 days. For problem against sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Throwing shade to wrap up this Wednesday show. What's your shade? If you got shade, hit it to us in the chat. And so, some serious shade I see from Demetrius. Yeah, shade on the person who accidentally shot and killed rapper Takeoff. Yeah, that's a really sad story and situation there with that. So throwing shade here on the show. Ken says throwing shade to fan base that want to throw away future draft capital just so they can feel good about losing in the first round with Ryan Tannehill. Jason says throwing shade at people that cover their mouth with their fist when they cough, like that does anything. Yeah, I guess that's true. It just kind of goes.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I always just elbow. Do the Cam Newton dab or like the Dracula or whatever you want to call it. Jared says shade on all these basement GMs that think they know better than J-Rob. LOL. The fan base is slow.
I would say it's not your fan base. I think sports fans as a whole generally like to put themselves in they're the backseat drivers of general managers around the country. So I wouldn't say it's a Titans fans thing. I think most fan bases are like that.
Yeah.
See what else we got here.
Yeah. Zach Goodman says throwing shit at the Atlanta airport. Place is massive and drivers are crazy down there. Yeah, sure. I've never driven at the Atlanta airport, just been connecting.
Okay. I seen a couple of these. David Haynes, shade at the CFP committee for ranking TCU behind Bama and shade for ranking LSU top 10. I haven't looked at the full rankings. Are those true?
Yeah. LSU's at number 10.
I do have a shade. This is not my shade, but I do have a shade. Illinois at 16 is so disrespectful. Come on.
Hey, who have you played, Mr. Illini?
We played some
nobody yet.
We played the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Big Ten West.
But for Tennessee's number 1, which is pretty ridiculous. And, I think I have an opinion on Tennessee being number 1. I'll tell you real quick, and I'll go into the LSU and the TCU stuff. I think the College Football Playoff Committee did the right thing for their business by putting Tennessee number 1 this week, because there is no lose for the College Football Playoff Committee of having Tennessee number 1. Having Tennessee number 1 this week gets extra attention on their rankings, extra hype around Tennessee before they go to Georgia. The Vols are 8-point dog. They're not expected to win via Vegas. So the committee has an opportunity to squeeze the juice out of that storyline this week only, because either Tennessee beats Georgia and they're validated with their number 1 ranking, or Tennessee loses to Georgia and slides down and Georgia moves up, but they at least take advantage of having that 5 days of juice of the Vols being number 1. So it's the right business move for the College Football Playoff. It had nothing to do with football, everything to do with the drama.
Yeah, I mean, I always have had issues with the CFP committee. I don't like, and this is probably blasphemy down in these parts, but I hate that it's SEC versus the world every year, and that you'll likely end up with. I would not be surprised if a 1-loss Alabama made the college football playoff over an undefeated Big 12 champion TCU. I think that's a realistic possibility, which is unfortunate that that's the case, but that's kind of the CFP now, which is why I've been championing the expanded college football playoff for a couple of years now. I believe that to my core. I think it is the best thing for the sport and for viewership and everything to get more fan bases engaged at this point of year of being able to look at it from a number 16 and be like, hey, we had a chance to get into the playoff here. This is pretty cool. So yeah, LSU's top 10, and then Bama is ahead of Where is Bama? Ahead of TCU?
Bama's 6, TCU's 7. So Bama gets the logo there, that has them above that. But TCU's played in a lot of close games, and they've had to come back to win several times this year. And they still have Baylor. They still have Texas Tech. And somebody posted they have Texas left as well. So TCU still has to earn the rest of their schedule, just like Alabama's got LSU this weekend, and they've got Ole Miss coming up later on too. So at LSU being at number 10, I think was the biggest surprise there, because they lost against Florida State in week 1, where it was a missed field goal, missed extra point at the end to win that game. So you kind of get that. And then they got blown out by Tennessee, but they've been playing a lot better since that blowout. But
typical Brian Kelly, his teams usually get better towards the end of the year. So he's a second half type of coach usually. So it's no real surprise to me that LSU is kind of coming on strong with Brian Kelly late. But that's the part that irritates me. How is LSU in the top 10 when my Illini are still sitting at 16 with the best defense in the country, a Heisman candidate and Chase Brown. This is a team that has shown that
Chase Brown is not an actual Heisman candidate.
If he goes for 2,000 yards and then
he's not an actual Heisman candidate.
He's not going to win it, but he's a candidate.
He's not going to New York as a finalist.
All right, I'll save that clip when Chase Brown goes to New York. We'll see.
He's not going to New York.
Here. I believe. But this is why best defense in the country. They have the one of the best running backs in the country right now and the best running attacks, and they've proven that they can hang in games. They lost to Indiana on a game that they got hosed on, and on a late touchdown that Illinois scored that the officials committee came back and said, yeah, that should have been a touchdown. They should be 8-0 right now. And yet we're sitting here putting a 2-loss LSU that has gotten blown out over them. Come on.
Yeah. David says, sorry to stir the shade pot back on topic here. So, Sam, what is your shade?
Yeah, that's fair. My shade is Bank of America. My shade, Bank of America. I use Bank of America. I had to cancel my debit card a couple weeks ago and get a new one sent in because all my passwords got like exposed or something. So it was a full reset for me. Bank of America has taken like 2 weeks to send me a debit card. So I've been without debit card. The only way I'm able to pay for anything, I don't have cash. So the only way I'm able to pay for anything right now is through Apple Pay is like all I'm doing. So like I am running out of groceries in the house. I can't go to Kroger or Walmart or any of these places that are nearby that have groceries. They don't take Apple Pay, which is another shade on them for not doing that in 2022. I think that's a bad business model.
Zach has thrown shade on Kroger before for not taking Apple Pay.
Yeah, no, it's a worthwhile shade because I think that's dumb and I don't understand why it would be a thing. But shade on Bank of America. It should not take you that long. Like I should be able to order a card and have it next day, Amazon type style.
And Sam, you're young. It's time for the credit card, right?
That's true. That's true. And that's on me. That's a handout.
Look, you just got out of college like 5-6 months ago. So
I should have been doing. I wanted to do it like 2 years ago and just get like some necessities with it. But yeah, right now it's like the Bank of America is just making me mad. They locked me out for a little bit as a whole and wouldn't even let me use Apple Pay because of the password thing. And they're just going back and forth. I can't communicate with them. But shade on Bank of America. They made my life very difficult. And now I've got things like Spotify, all my apps that like I pay for are like hitting me up being like, well, your payment card isn't working anymore. So we're canceling your subscription. A lot of bad stuff going on from this.
Well, and ironically, Sam, we've got basically the same shade, except mine is to do with my credit card because my credit card, I had a fraud charge on my credit card for $300 yesterday. And so I noticed it. I'm like, what is this? And then I immediately get a text from Chase saying, is this a fraud charge? I said, absolutely, it's a fraud charge. And so now this is a shade that is it's not like the biggest of deals, but it's a pretty significant inconvenience to have to get a new credit card shipped to me and then have to go through all of my accounts that I have that credit card set up on auto pay or whatever it is, and just restart. And it's just something that I'm going to have to deal with and find new places that I had my credit card saved as auto pay probably over the next month. And it's just going to continuously happen. And so, it's tough stuff.
I just feel like payment in general should just be easier at this point. And any place, like this comes back to the Kroger thing, any place that isn't taking Apple Pay at this point in time, like, what are we doing? Gas stations take Apple Pay. I can go to the gas station and get a bottle of water and tap my phone on the reader and it pays for it real quick. And it's like, all right, good to go. Why is Walmart, one of the biggest chains in like American retail history, just doesn't have Apple Pay? Like that doesn't make sense to me. Why that wouldn't be? I'm sure
there's a lot of like you'd think like that's a big deal, right? So Walmart wants to get the right deal with Apple to say, hey, how big would it be for Apple to have Walmart take Apple Pay? How big would it be for Kroger and these big brands to do that? So I'm sure there's a lot of negotiation at the highest of corporate levels that has to take place, which is not something that moves fast.
Yeah, you're just years behind the 8 ball to me. Like the last time I went and got groceries, I went into Green Hills. I went to Trader Joe's because I'm like, if there's one place I know takes Apple Pay, it's Trader Joe's. So that was like, had to do that. But I don't. Yeah,
there's like 5 Bank of Americas from where you live to in between that Trader Joe's where you can walk in there.
I didn't know that.
And get cash.
That's what I'm getting told by the chat here.
Your phone also has this thing called Maps where you can search Bank of America and it shows you the location.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, it has a GPS. I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah. So
smart.
That's a way.
Pretty smart phone.
So you can go into banks and they can give you cash.
Is that what the bank's for? Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting cooked in the chat a little bit as usual for not going to the bank. Listen, I know that my age is showing a little bit here. Yeah. This is just how my generation does it. We tap to pay, man. That's kind of how it goes.
What do you do? I don't know how to do this.
I'm disappointed in myself. I'll hand up. I'll take accountability for this because I thought I know how banks work. I've gone into the bank, gotten cash before.
Good.
I've done these things before. It just didn't come to the top of mind. And this is what it comes down to, Nick. Be resourceful. You're right. That's on me. I need to be better about being resourceful and taking initiative. So I take back my shade on no, actually, Bank of America should still get me a card faster.
No, the mailing situation is absolutely shade worthy.
But yeah, I mean, that shade on me too, because that was that. I got myself. I backed myself into a corner here.
I think Tank came up with a new segment. What are some things that Sam has done before that are normal things, but not for his generation? Like, when's the last have you bought stamps before?
When I was a kid, yeah. No, but when I was a kid, yeah. You don't put stamps on anything anymore, right? You still have to
mail. Yes.
Yeah, I don't mail stuff unless it's in a package or something, and then I'm just at the post office. So what would I have to mail to anybody?
I do. I mail things every month.
But you're a big business owner guy.
Yeah, exactly. Award-winning business owner. Nika asked, "Have you ever written a check, Sam?"
No.
You've never written a check?
Why would I write a check? Why would I literally? But this is the.
There's reasons to write checks.
It's not that I don't know how to write a check. I learned this in home ec and stuff. But why would I have to write a check?
No, I write checks every month. I write.
As you should, but why would I have to write a check? I have Venmo.
It's fair.
Yeah.
So American Top as Sam, do you know how to write in cursive?
Yes, okay. Easily. I learned cursive first grade to 5th grade. We would do cursive.
Chris says, Sam, you could write a check at Kroger.
Can you really?
Yes.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Why can you accept a check? You can accept a check, but you can't take Apple Pay. We're getting more cursive. Yes, I can write in cursive. I did cursive throughout.
So Sam, you can go write a check you can go to Kroger, get your groceries, and then you
pay with a check, but I can't use Apple Pay.
Yes.
That's backwards.
You go into the Sam.
I'm not the problem. Kroger's the problem.
I think this is a new segment. Is Sam, have you done this before?
Yeah, I'm enjoying this. We can do let's see, what do we? I wonder what the other.
Sam, have you set your ringtone to a song?
No, I don't think so. I see that, but that part of that's I was late to getting a phone. My parents didn't let me get a phone to high school basically, so. It wasn't my first phone was an iPhone, or technically it was a BlackBerry, but no, I never did a
And by that time, nobody had ringtones as songs.
Yeah, nobody was doing that by the time I first got my phone, because if I would have gotten a phone when I was in grade school and stuff, I would have been putting Black Eyed Peas on there and like doing my.
Oh, this is so funny. Have you ever burned a CD?
Yes, actually.
Okay, all right.
Only because of my uncle. When I was very little, my uncle would do that with us. Somehow that's what he like. He was a tech guy, so he would always get us video games and a bunch of illegal stuff that's past the statute of limitations now, where he would burn CDs. But
oh, this is so good. I want to keep going, but I feel like I don't want to go through all of these because we've got some really good ones.
Here, this is the last one we can do. Yes, I've listened to a cassette tape. I used to listen to those all the time in the car, Orlando. But what is the earliest cartoon I remember? See, I didn't watch a lot of the mainstream cartoons, like Flintstones, stuff like that. I didn't really watch.
Scooby-Doo? Scooby-Doo?
I watched Scooby-Doo a lot. I watched Arthur when I was a little kid. I would watch Arthur all the time. And then, was it Toontown? Something like that. There was something where they would go on they would go on like a race on Cartoon Network. I was never really a cartoon fan though. I did a lot of like animated shows or like live action shows versus like cartoons. I just wasn't into it as much.
Oh man. Did you ever have an iPod?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the little nanos and those were
Did you have a Game Boy? No chance.
Yes.
You did? Wow,
yes, Game Boy. Game Boy. I had a Sega. I had a Nintendo 64. All those early game systems I am experienced in. Yeah.
All right. Orlando says Sam is the most interesting A to Z host. Buck can't swim, and Sam doesn't know how to write it or doesn't write checks or don't know that he can write a check at the grocery store. It's great. It's great. I like this.
Everybody's asking how old. I'll leave that to you guys.
I mean,
to figure out.
that's up to you. I wasn't gonna.
I mean, Austin kind of told you guys, but we'll leave that to you to figure out. So
yeah. All right. Well, hope everybody has a great rest of your Wednesday. The guy who can't swim, his name is Buck Rising. He comes up later on the same channels here, A to Z Sports Primetime. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for all of our content. Sam's also headed to Titans practice today to go in the locker room where maybe you could ask some of these Titans players, hey, have you ever burned a CD? Hey, do you know how to write a check? Hey, do you know how to, what else is it that you didn't know how to do? Use your maps or pay for groceries without a debit card or Apple Pay. You can ask the Titans players these things because you're their age. But big game coming up. Sam will be in the locker room. So go check out our YouTube page and subscribe. Like the show before you go, and we'll see you tomorrow on a Thursday. Appreciate it as always.